Hi, everybody. Welcome to Show Dog Prep School's Breeder of Influence interview. I'm super excited because I love talking to Laura Reeves. A big fan of her podcast, Pure Dog Talk, and she's also an instructor at Show Dog Prep School, and she's also a breeder. So usually the first thing I talk about is how we met, and so we met because Laura is a local handler for years in my area. So I've just we saw each other around forever. And then I started listening to Pure Dog Talk. And then I approached her about teaching for Show Dog Prep School. And I've been on Pure Dog Talk. So that's sort of how we met.
A mutual admiration society.
Yeah, for sure. So Laura, your kennel name is Scotia. So tell us about Scotia and who Scotia is.
So the Scotia Kennel is, when you think about what your kennel name is going to be or whatever. I grew up in dogs. My parents bred dogs, and we'd had a, kennel name, and then my parents divorced and they each had their own kennel names and whatever. And I kind of wanted my own thing. And so my father's family emigrated to Canada from England to Nova Scotia and had property in Nova Scotia that was a land grant from the King of England, and was very sort of an influential story in my childhood. And my mother's family is all Scottish, and so I really kind of wanted to, emphasize that. Of course, Nova Scotia is New Scotland, so that's how it came to be. And actually, the prefix is registered as, so it is Scotian. Too much information, right? Because I did not realize when I had my first litter that Scotia by itself is actually a registered kennel name with the American Kennel Club that is grandfathered in from the very early days of registered kennel names. And though it is inactive, they cannot give it to somebody else. And so Right. So my dogs are never registered as Scotias, like apostrophe S. The possessive is Scotian.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bizarre, but
it's so is Scotian registered?
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured at that point I'm like, okay, it's close enough, right? Like nobody else is going to take Scotia.
So Scotia is just you, and you are you grew up in a dog showing family, right? Like you've been doing this. Tell us about that.
So my parents, when I was, like fourth grade, like that, we had field trial labs, and my dad eventually became a hunt test and field trial judge for retrievers and all that kind of good stuff. And my mother enrolled me in dog care 4-H when I was in fourth grade because I was shy and retiring and lacked people skills. I am living proof of the success of the 4-H program.
You're still active in 4-H, right? Or with 4-H?
With 4-H, I judge 4-H. I, do a bunch of donation to my local 4-H club, all that kind of stuff.
Education stuff too, right?
Tons of it. Tons and tons. And I think, 4-H really sort of set my mind to how I think about dogs and animal husbandry and all of those things, as well as education and the power of what dogs can do for us. And dogs and my involvement with dogs changed me and helped me grow from sort of an obnoxious little child to where I am today. And, there's some people that'll still say I'm obnoxious, but anyway, so eventually my father got sick of hauling hay and building fence for our horses. He said, get rid of these horses and I'll buy you any purebred dog you want. And so my first purebred dog was actually an English setter from Joyce Weichel down there in Northern California. And about the same time, my mom discovered Clumber Spaniels. And so my family went away basically from ouch, that's my thumb. No bite. No bite. Went away from the labs and became very, very active in Clumber Spaniels. And eventually the first wire hair pointer arrived as part of our family. And that really just automatically became my dog and my breed and the passion of my life.
Are you any more active with clumbers or with setters as far as breeding, or not really?
My mom and I worked together through her lifetime. She passed away in 2015. So I'm actually a breeder of merit of Clumber Spaniels, but I am not actively involved in breeding them at this time. And English setters are just sort of a passing fancy. My very first dog show experience at the American Kennel Club was with that English setter puppy, and it was with a very well-known, very famous judge in the Northwest who was old and grumpy, and she literally made me cry. Like, I left the ring sobbing, and decided that perhaps the grooming standards for an English setter were not what I could manage at 13. So that, and I still love the breed. I will judge them. I'm actually going to be turning in my application to judge English setters, but in all honesty, the wire hair is a better fit for my personality. So
how did that experience with that judge help to shape you as a judge?
Oh, many experiences that made me, I think, a better judge. I hope a better judge. We'll see. And if you don't want to be a judge, if you don't want to be there, don't go. Right?
Yeah,
like, don't make people miserable. It's just not right. It's
especially kids, I think.
I was 13.
Yeah.
And really like sobbing. The fact that I ever came back to dog shows, because my dog wasn't properly trimmed. She hadn't had her back coat pulled down. Okay. But you can help people understand that in a better way.
Yeah. In a way that supports them learning.
Right.
And going out and looking for help, right?
Constructive criticism is different than criticism. And I think that, hi, are you back from work? You've already been up here. I think that is something that, here's the thing about it. Dog people are dog people because they're often not very good people. And some of our best dog people are great dog people and terrible people. And so I think
that goes for trainers too.
It does, absolutely. Breeders, judges, trainers, handlers, you name it. And so I think a little bit of grace is important. What do you have? Give me a minute.
Grab that puppy, Laura. Let's talk about that puppy.
I don't know how she got a plastic bag, but she did.
She needs a pacifier.
Oh my God. There's toys.
She needs a chew stick in your hand, not your finger.
No, it's a different puppy that had the plastic bag.
Tell us about this litter.
So this litter is 7 generations of my breeding.
Wow.
Yes. My foundation bitch was named Spook. My mother had purchased her, and she was a little much for the clumbers they had at the time. And my personal Akita had a situation where he was going to have to be neutered. And so she said, well, I'm going to send you this wire hair puppy. And I was like, okay. And that became the foundation. She was a bitch that went back to, oops, I keep moving this the wrong way. She was a bitch. Sorry about that.
She was that puppy's so cute. I can't.
Wait, this is Timex. There. This is Timex. Timex. So side note, squirrel. Timex, we had 2 puppies in this litter that had some too long in the birth canal and potentially additionally a bacterial infection. And so this puppy and another one of the puppies had some pretty severe neurological issues that popped up. And this was a first for me. I was like, the hell? And honestly, this puppy and another puppy had an appointment to be euthanized. Like I didn't think they were going to make it.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to be able to live good lives. And Dr. Marty Greer, who's the veterinary voice for Pure Dog Talk, I called her up and asked for sort of a second opinion kind of thing. And she said, put them on clindamycin, it's not going to hurt them. It's cheap. It's easy. And if it's some kind of toxoplasma or neoplasma or, some kind of weird bacterial infection that can pass the placenta, it'll fix it. And if that fixes it, then, okay, what's going on. And so these 2 puppies are now 100%.
Wow.
And you cannot tell them from the other puppies in the litter.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
He took the longest. For the longest time, he just kind of looked at the world a little cockeyed. But the little female, the little bitch puppy was terrible. I mean, maybe it had been there and we just hadn't noticed because nobody was up and walking. But when everybody else got up and walking, she couldn't get prone. Like she not only couldn't walk, she couldn't get on her chest. She would grapple herself to nurse on her side. And she is within 2 doses, within 12 hours of starting her on antibiotics, she was on her feet.
So this is going a little bit off my
like I said,
but I want to stay on this for a second because I think it's important to talk about the fact that you were considering euthanasia because there is I think that this is the part of being a breeder that's the hard part. Like, what do I do? Like, how far am I willing to go? What do I do? And I did have a puppy die at 5 months old from a congenital birth. Well, they said congenital, happened inside. But I mean, he'd gone to his home. He'd been there 2 months. It was heartbreaking for everybody.
Terrible.
But I mean, we didn't know when he was little. But
you have to consider the dog's quality of life, the puppy buyers, and all of any potential trauma to them.
Right.
And my euthanizing a 2-week-old puppy is devastating to me if that's what has to happen. But it is so much less overall trauma than if that puppy is not going to make it into the real world. This is another one. This is Finale. Why can I? Finale is like tiny little nugget. He was super little and had a really hard time. I had to give him sub-Q fluids. He was another one that I had to keep alive, but he's big and tough now. Says, I am tiny, but
he looks like he has a lot more fur.
He has more fur. So breeding wire-haired pointers, come here.
So how much does that matter?
It matters a lot, right? This is a German wire-haired pointer. The name of the breed is, right? Like that's a soft-coated Wheaton Terrier that's black. Okay?
Right.
The name of the breed. So coat is super important. And coat, unfortunately, is also really tough. Spicy.
Well, I was going to say in wire-haired dachshunds, sometimes you like it if the coat on a wire baby looks very short and tight and, because it makes...
I'm trying to get you an example. Give me half a second. You won't come when she's called. You guys got into the ribbon. What are you doing? Oh my goodness. Okay, so a little tiny bit of wire hair education here.
Great.
Oh, yep. Okay. So this is Spicy. She's actually the other neuro puppy. And you can see how different her coat is,
yes.
Right? Much shorter, much tighter. This is going to be a really, really, really good wire hair pointer coat.
And easier to take care of, right? For the show ring.
Well, it's correct, all right, to the standard. The standard calls for the breed to have naturally short hair on the head and ears, naturally, not pulled that way, naturally. Medium furnishings and a thick, dense, harsh, flat-lying body coat. Okay, that's what this puppy is going to have. Okay, this puppy, super wicked cute. If I could just figure out the camera, super wicked cute. He's adorable.
He really is.
Having this much coat at this age tells me that his coat will be incorrect by the standard.
And a lot of work to keep looking.
And a lot of work to get it to look like what the standard should be. And I am a huge advocate for fix it in the whelping box, not the tack box.
Yeah.
I can make, well, he's not a very pretty puppy, but I mean, I could make this coat manageable for the show ring.
Right.
But this is the correct coat.
Yeah. Because the more you manage, the further you get away from what you want to make, right? What you want to produce. And the more work you're making for yourself in the long run.
One of my earliest mentors was a wire hair pointer breeder there in Northern California by the name of Mildred Ravel, Weidenhugel. Her lines are chock-a-block behind mine. We talk about on the shoulders of giants, and she absolutely was in wire hair pointers, particularly on the West Coast. And she always said she was lazy. She bred good coats because she was lazy and she didn't want to do the work of keeping them up. And this puppy is going to be much less work than this puppy,
right?
To make it look okay. I can't handle two of you and talk.
Chomp, chomp. So you talked a little bit. So tell us a little bit more about your foundation animals. And I know that you go into that in your online courses. Sorry. So people who want to hear Laura talk more about that.
So Spook was the foundation. She went back to lines that Mom and I had used when I was a kid and we were breeding dogs at home, and was out of a very, very famous, very successful dual champion in our breed. Our breed is well known for the percentage of dogs that are dual champions.
Nice.
And have advanced field titles. Not so much numerically, just simply because we're not a big number breed, but percentage-wise, wire hair pointers have some of the highest percentages of dual champions to dogs registered. So this particular dog was very influential, his sire even more so. And basically my entire breeding program has focused on line breeding, loose line breeding to that dog's sire. So Cascade Ike was the sire of my foundation bitch. His sire is a dog named Cascade Rogue. That dog is still, to this day, and the dog has been dead for 25 years, he is still on the top 10 sire list for dual champions, hunt test title dogs, and show champions. To this day.
So I want to ask you about that, because as a professional trainer who spent a lot of years teaching group dog training classes, puppy classes, beginning classes, we saw a big range. Like, I feel like, and this means no like disrespect to anything dogs do, but that we would see this huge amount of people who would have Labradors, and they would have these field bred labs that were lighter bone, but they were off the charts with their activity level. Like not even great for a pet, like not what people thought they were getting. They thought they were going to get this big boned sort of, very easy going. And then they got this Ferrari.
I'm trying to you can see what they're doing. Oh. They take my tub of ribbon out of its shelf and they're dragging it across the floor so they can play with it better.
So that kind of goes right in perfectly to my question. When you have dogs that you have that level of dual champions, right? Do you see this as a breed that's hard for everyday people to have as a companion?
Okay. So in every breed, and particularly the sporting breeds, and especially wire hair pointers, who you get your dog from matters. It matters because energy level, drive level, trainability level, all of those things differ based on the emphasis of the person who's doing the breeding. Okay. My dogs, every single dog I have is heavily hardcore line bred on major tap winning national field champions, dual champions, serious dual purpose dogs. All right. My buyers, most of the people who buy my puppies are buying hunting dogs. Okay. I sell 2 or 3 show dogs or give them to friends or, whatever it is. But my normal puppy buyer just wants a hunting dog. And this breed is very, very popular as hunting dogs. They are not as popular as show dogs. And they have become more so in recent years. And I'm not super thrilled about that, but there it is. I have always insisted that there is no reason to hunt over an ugly dog. I grew up hunting with my family. I have hunted over retrieving dogs, flushing spaniels, and pointing dogs for my entire 50 some odd years. And there is no reason that you have to have an out of control, fugly nutball kitty as your bird dog. They can be pretty. They can be manageable. They can have an off switch.
I was going to ask about an off switch. So you can have, these are not dogs that need to be kept out in kennels, you know, like
wire hairs hate being in kennels. Hate. Wire hair pointers want to be with you at all times. They also need a job. So, oh my God, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's what we like. We're all puppy junkies.
Puppy junkies. There's the puppies entertaining themselves with I'll just leave it there because that's much more entertaining than watching me. This is wire hair pointers. They are smart. They are ridiculously smart. They are smart. They are the smartest person in the room, right? Like smart. They're smarter than most of their owners. And they have an enormous amount of energy. And they have an enormous amount of drive. And they also have an enormous amount of bidability, or should have, and trainability and willingness to please, eagerness to please. Yeah. And so the perfect wire hair pointer home is somebody that wants to do all the things. All the things. I have bred dogs that I have produced. Show champion that is also NAVDA is another organization that is very high level field work, is a NAVDA versatile champion, which is the highest level of their, and it is a UDX.
Wow.
Okay, that's just one. His litter mate is a bred by exhibitor best in show winner, who is a show champion, who's a Mach 5, who also has a hunting title, etc. Okay. Mm-hmm. These dogs, the ones that go into homes that they're shown, I have bred dogs with well over 100 titles. And that's probably 35 dogs.
Wow.
Right? Every single dog that goes into a show home that is going to do something with that dog, they don't just do the one thing. They do all the things.
Right.
And that goes back generations. Very, very, very few of the dogs in my breeding program have just a show championship.
Mm-hmm.
A few of them. The mother of this litter, I haven't just been in a position to go get her hunt test titles, right? And even the ones who don't have the titles generally have the ability, if not the owner, me, who has the time to do it.
Right.
And so it's important where you get your dog, because that informs the dog you get.
Right. Absolutely. I want to ask you a question. I'm taking a hard left again. Sure. So years ago, I worked for a guy, and he knew I was like into dogs and I was a trainer. So he's like, "Hey, I want you to find me a hunting dog." And he had German short hair pointers. Mm-hmm. And he said, "I want a Dratar or Draktar or something." Yeah. And so, I started doing research, and I'm like, Pete, I think it's really the same as these. I really don't know how to find you.
So what you have is the German wire-haired pointer, which is the American Kennel Club registered dog. Then you have the Drathar, which is registered by the Verein Deutsch Drathar, which is the German registration group. Okay, so this is kind of like your German Shepherds, some of that kind of stuff. Genetically, they're the same dog. Okay.
Okay.
The BDD dogs, the Drathars, must have extensive, hardcore field testing before they can be bred. There is a that says you can or you cannot breed this dog and have it be registered in the organization.
Okay.
And so they have to pass very strenuous testing. They have to be approved. They have to have the correct coat. They have to have the so basically a VDD dog is a different registration.
Okay.
Find dogs that have similar types of testing. Many of my dogs do. Many of my dogs, this pedigree was chock-a-block with imports, dogs from Europe that were tested in that system. And I just bred, their sire was bred to a Russian import bitch who's nothing but VDD lines and VDD tested dogs. There's not a show dog in her pedigree. And she finished at Wolfstock at the Wire Hair Specialty at Wolfstock. And there, you couldn't find a same dog in that. The COI is like 0. I mean, it's just,
wow.
Except that bings a little bit, you know? So that is one of the things that I really like about this breed is that because of that system, we have like islands, right? And so you can take one island and breed it to another island and get a lot of diversity while still maintaining type.
Okay. So do you have a formula for your breeding program?
In terms of like, it has to be a certain way, no, because so much about breeding dogs is man plans and God laughs, right? Yeah. So I do a lot. This particular litter is a half brother, half sister. It's the first time I've done it in 25 years. I've long thought that was something I wanted to kind of try, but I haven't had a dog that either in some level didn't meet my criteria, health, temperament, field ability, structure, whatever it was, there was some piece missing somewhere, right? And so I finally reached that point, and it was, the pedigree is pretty tight. I mean, but realistically, but there's also an enormous amount of huge outcrosses.
And you'll go out with the puppies, right?
Oh, God. Oh,
yeah.
God, yeah.
So that's sort of, that's, you know, I mean, I don't think I've done, I mean, I think I've co-bred litters that were half brother, sister, but yeah, generally how I was taught was like, you know, line breed, go out, line breed, go out. It was interesting when I got into a rare breed and it's like, oh yeah, we don't do it that way.
Right.
Oh my God.
Humber Spaniels were recreated from 6 individual animals after World War II. I mean, that's a very different gene pool, right?
Yes.
And so in this pedigree, the only other really close breeding I've done was an uncle-niece breeding that made the dog that is legitimately the best dog I ever had. Their, what would she be? Great-grandmother, Smoke, was multiple specialty winning, ROMX, you know, the whole.
She was yours?
Match, right? Yes, she was mine. And I liked the uncle-niece breeding, and it is incorporated here. The sire of the dam was the #1 dog in the country in breed points. The sire of the sire was a best in show winner, as well as a hunt test title dog, all the rest of it. It is generation after generation after generation of extraordinarily well-proven dogs. And it's brought together a lot of important lines and a lot of things that you can't find other places.
Okay. So tell me, who have been some of your favorite Scotia dogs? Smoke.
Well, yeah. Her sire was a dog. Hang on, fly killing. Her sire was a dog by the name of Henry, Scotian Private Reserve. He was a champion master hunter. He was a specialty winner. He was bred 3 times total lifetime, and is behind both sides of this pedigree. Well represented. He was the grandsire of both the #1 breed points dog and the best in show dog, right? So bringing together a lot of this kind of stuff. Henry, anybody who knows my dogs knows Henry. Henry and Smoke are very, very, very famous.
So Mara, I have to say, Mara Hayes, before you even said Henry, she said Henry. Yeah. And then she said, called it beautiful.
Henry, anyone who's been around long enough to have known Henry, he was unforgettable. He was my heart dog, fully, deeply, and completely my heart dog.
So, what about dogs that are outside of your breeding program, but favorite dogs of yours?
Dog. That's tough, because if there's a good dog, a dog that I really admire, I've used it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That counts.
There have been some amazing field trial dogs that are behind most of my breeding that I have very much admired. As a matter of fact, these puppies, let's see, Taylor's sire. So I'm not sure. I can't even keep track anymore. Their great grandsire on both sides, I guess, is a dog that was out of imported semen from a Danish dual champion, bred to a field trial bitch who was a litter mate to a, I don't even know, 2 or 3 time national field champion. And that dog's name is Sig. And I just love that dog. I fell in love with him the first time I met him. I saw him. I mean, this is a major, never been anywhere field trial dog at a dog show in Omaha, Nebraska, just chilling out, just laid back.
Oh.
I have been on a horse watching that dog run at a field trial and kick up I don't even remember, a coyote or something, and power up the side of a 9,000 foot mountain as if it wasn't there.
Wow.
That level of ability to turn it on and off was what I really, really, really loved about that Sig dog.
I always think like I like to do hiking and I like to take my dog on walks and we do some stuff, but I consider breeds like yours, like for big kids, that's not, I think I'm not looking to get into other breeds, but I mean, it's like, is it a breed for, that anybody could have or really no, you need to do stuff?
You need to do stuff. This is not a dog that's going to sit in the backyard and you throw some food at it. They will invent their own job if you don't give them one, and you won't like the job they come up with. Like,
exactly.
You can see unloading my ribbon and decorating the house with it because they're irritated with me because I didn't give them something fun to do. Because I didn't lock them in where they can't get into trouble. And so you really have to be willing to put the time and effort in to have a great companion. I mean, you can have a pain in the ass, but and own this breed. But if you want to have a good dog, you got to put the time in.
So you've been in this breed a long time. Are you going to be able to handle this breed in 20 years, or will you have to be like, no?
This is, well, I'll always own one, but this will be the last. This is sort of like my last hurrah. This will be the last litter I physically whelp, because some of my physical restraints. But one of the things that I think is so incredibly important as a breeder, and the thing that I have advocated for and worked very hard to accomplish myself, is to develop apprentices, mentees, people who will take your breeding program and move it forward. And I am very, very fortunate to have found people who will do that. And I have a young gal, a couple different young women that have worked for me and proven themselves over and over and over and over and over and over again to be committed to the breed and to doing the right thing. And so they will be able to continue that on, and I will be able to be involved in an advisory capacity rather than.
It's amazing. That's the way it should be. I think that's the way it should be. It
is what I would like to see built more than it is. I believe that it's very easy to get really super possessive and protective, and you sort of miss the point of it, in my opinion. You miss that opportunity to build a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't build a legacy in my lifetime, not in this breed. But with the people that I'm working in partnership with, that legacy can continue.
Yeah.
And I've worked awfully hard and invested a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And it would be unfortunate to see that wasted, if you will.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's amazing that you found people to share this with and to guide through. They can, it's like they can start with you. And so they're not starting way back here. They've got this jump based on your experience and knowledge and all that kind of stuff. And that's beautiful.
The foundation bitch that the gal will get from this litter, she is so far ahead of where I was when I started 25 years ago. And she has a second bitch from me that is a different dam line, that was part of an outcross, bring in a second dam line process program that I was working on. And so she has these two bitches that she'll start with, and the mix and match and build out from there is awe-inspiring to me. It's what I've wanted to build for myself, and now I have built it for her and for others in this little sort of, I don't know, consortium is the right word, but family. It's my family.
Laura Holthouse, who's actually one of my students, says, it's nice to see how important the breed is to you with your emotions. Thank you for that. And I think it's true. I agree with her.
Break down sobbing. So a little room on that.
So let me go into this. This is a question I just added to this interview that I haven't asked people before, but I think it's something that's important to talk about now. I feel like we've gotten so skewed with the way dog shows have become so competitive and so much about this thing that people started going, oh my God, what am I going to do about my breeding program? There's no dog shows. And I'm going, the dog shows are not what drives this. The dog shows are just a piece that you can use to help you make decisions, right? But the breeding should not be, it's nice to go and get evaluations and get input, but it's like, tell us why, it's the breeding that comes, first. That's the important piece.
In the question of the chicken or the egg, the breeding came first.
Right.
The dog shows are nothing. The dog shows are literally nothing except, sorry, I have to show you this because she's being so cute. Can you see her? Everybody else is asleep. And she's
so cute.
I'm just going to sleep on the edge of the bed here and fall off on my head.
I love how there's so much white.
Well, and that's a whole nother story. So the breed is described as liver and white. Mm-hmm. Period. In Europe and in VDD and in other countries, they also include black. But the AKC standard was actually written before the VDD standard. And at the time, most of the wire-haired pointers that came to the U.S. at that time were from countries that had white dogs and not black dogs. And so our standard allows white. In Europe, these dogs would be highly frowned upon. They are not my ideal, but I have, over the course of time, made selections based on the best dog, not the best color. And so here I am.
Do you feel that is the reason for the color have anything to do with a, reasoning that function? Has to do with, function, the field?
Yeah. Because when the breed was designed, it was created in the mid to late 1800s in Germany by German foresters. It was created to hunt on land, or hunt fur and feather, retrieve on land and in water, dispatch small predators up to and including a fox. And in those tests I was telling you about in VDD, they still have to kill a feral cat. Mm-hmm. So fur drive is really high in some of the VDD lines, okay? And to guard hearth and home. So this was a really strong, really stand-up dog. And they were designed to hunt in the forests of Germany. And so they needed to have camouflage, and that's where the liver tick dogs came from.
Got it.
They used short hairs, poodle pointers, stickelhaars, which are now basically almost extinct, a version of the wire hair pointing Griffon, all of that. And the motto of the founding breeders was breed as you like, but tell what you did. And so there's a lot of people that are, scream this and scream that and scream the other thing. In the US, waterfowl hunters do not like the white dogs. They say that the white dogs will flare their birds that are coming in for landing so that they can't shoot them. The guys who hunt pheasant and sage grouse and prairie chickens, you know, big running wide open, they love the white dogs because they can see them. So, you know, there's a little evolution there. But the breed as it was designed and created is a dark liver ticked camouflagey kind of dog.
Right.
So it's my preference. From this litter, I will select the ticked bitch, the best ticked bitch to carry, for her to carry forward. And we'll continue to select for the best one we can get. But there's some very, very pretty white puppies in here.
Angie asked if the ticking will darken them. Will darken them a lot.
No. The ones that are white are at this point at 6 weeks old. The ones that are white are white. The ones that are ticked are ticked. At a couple days, maybe that's true. They're all born white. But at 6 weeks, no. There's going to be some that will get more spotted, right? So there's ticking, spotting, patching. All of those are genetic components. And one of the things I'm actually working with Embark to do a little bit of a case study. I'm hoping with this litter, every one of the 13 puppies has been embarked. And one of the things we're trying to figure out is if we can nail down color and patterning and see if we can't get, I don't know if they can do it with, you know, this small a sample, but that would be something that would be really fun to look at. So
yeah, that's very cool. Okay, my last question. What does it take to be a breeder of influence?
Guts and determination and the willingness to get back up off your knees. Passion, commitment, all of those things.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Laura, you are so smart and you are such a wealth of information when it comes to dogs. Now I'm about to start crying. But I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's clear your heart and soul is wrapped up in those puppies. You know, I mean, I can't imagine. I dreamed of coming from a family that was doggy like that, where, you know, you were, you know, brought up in dogs. And it's been such, I mean, I was brought up with dogs, but like my parents bred like Shih Tzu, backyard Shih Tzu breeders, you know, but I mean, it's like, this is your legacy, you know, I mean, it's amazing. It's wonderful. I'm so grateful for, you know, to you for talking about this because you've shared so much and it's
happy to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So a lot of people are making comments. I'm sure people will go back and watch. So feel free, Laura, if you want to go back and peek at their comments. There's some really nice things. It looks like I think Henry was a pretty big impact on a lot of people.
Hannah worked for me when Henry was a young dog being shown. And as I said, he was a pretty special dude. He just was. He was that dog. I'll tell you a Henry story. Okay, everybody needs a Henry story. Here's my Henry story.
Yeah.
So Henry, we were living in Nebraska at the time. My ex-husband's sister had a very horrible family situation. Her then husband was scary, and she and the kids felt the need to leave the situation, and they came to our home. And they were not dog people. And these kids were like terrified of dogs, and they were little, like, I don't know, 4 and 6 or something like that. And so she came to our house, and she didn't want to stay at our house because she was afraid it would cause, you know, violence issues. It was very bad. But Henry, I said, here, Henry will go sleep on your bed with you, and he'll keep you safe, right? He was like and Henry is like, okay, cool. And so he went with them. They moved. They went to hotels because they didn't feel safe in our home for us.
Right.
And Henry went with them. And Henry watched that family. He slept with his head on her hip, just like he slept with his head on my hip. And the little girl who didn't weigh as much as he did would walk him around, and he would never hurt her, never do anything. These are like essentially totally strangers to him.
Right.
Said, this is what you're going to do. And he just went and did it.
Yeah.
And the only time he ever knocked one of those kids down was when they were in the hotel room alone. Mom had gone to do something and somebody knocked on the door, and he knocked the little girl down to stand between her and the door.
Wow.
He wouldn't.
How'd they ever give him back?
Because that was my heart, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, no, Henry was one of a kind. Okay, one more Henry story. Do we have time for one more Henry story?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Henry was a baby, and I was living in Washington at the time, and my ex-husband, different ex-husband, sorry. We were out running our dogs in the forest areas of Gig Harbor, and I had his mother, Spook, and him, and we were up on this logging road, and the logging road ended, and there was this big shale slide. So anybody who's ever been in a shale slide knows that's very scary and dangerous, and the shale can move, and it will sweep you away, just like a landslide. Oh. And so it was a really steep cliff over here, and this big shale slide went across the road. And anyway, so Spook's running around, and Henry's over here doing his thing. And Spook ran out into the shale slide and got stuck and was scared and wouldn't move. And I couldn't call her to me. She wouldn't do anything. My ex-husband went up and tried to call her across, and she wouldn't move. And so I'm having these like nightmare visions of my dog, washing away in a landslide to the bottom of this 300-foot canyon. And here comes Henry. He was kind of a
I'll go get her.
And I'm screaming because he's running up through the shale slide. So I'm like, oh my God, they're all going to die. It's just horrifying. Anyway, so Henry gets to where Spook is, and he goes to her and he sniffs her all the way around. And then he kind of nudges her, and he walks across to where Kelly is, and she follows him. I still get goosebumps.
Oh, that is very goosebump worthy. I hope you have a new Henry in that litter. I hope a little piece of him is in some of those guys.
There's a lot of Henry in all of them. So.
Good. Thank you so much, Laura. We're going to do this again because I love talking to you too much. You're honestly, your passion and love for dogs is contagious, and it just fills me with emotion, and I love it. I could go on for a really long time.
I'll try. Come on. You're killing
me. I did it. I made Laura Reeves cry.
Honestly, sister, it's not that hard. I cry.
Well, too bad I'm taking credit.
Yeah, it's a thing. Oh my God.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful, and we all wish you the best of luck with those babies.
Finale fell off. I'll get back on.
They're so precious and perfect.
They're pretty cute.
You guys, feel free to share this video. It will be saved, so you can come back and watch again and share it with your friends and anybody who you think enjoy it. Thank you so much, Laura. This was great.
Good times. Thanks for having me, Vicki.